Excellent. Well, we're here with our favorite chapter of the book. So I just want to welcome anybody who might be following us today. And of course, all my co-hosts here, Karin Gattenig and Walter Perdigo, and of course, Mr. Keys, who is looking quite dashing with his beard today. Yeah. So, sex transmutation, the 10th step towards riches. Okay. Anybody want to comment on this chapter before maybe I start reading?
Well, it's not Lee's favorite. We know that. He's kind of he doesn't like this, but I'll tell you my whole take, and it's biggest. I'm sure we're going to go on tangents in this session, but if you think of the highest level of vibration is love, right? And when you're in, sex is the highest form of love, I would think. Well, unless it's a one-night stand or something. But when you're having, let's say with your significant other,
that could be love, Walter.
then you're at your vibe, the vibration is as high as it can be. So if you can kind of enhance, sort of take that energy and channel it to help foster your beliefs and you're grateful and being gratitudes and all of that, you can't get much more higher energy state than that. That's sort of the biggest takeaway I got from it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you guys think.
I'm right there with you. I think that that there's probably nothing that has a stronger pull on people than sex. So transmitting that energy, transmuting that energy to a different form or just to a different focus is powerful, because that is, that energy, it makes or breaks lives. You watch what happens to some people. It makes me think of a gentleman right now who has lost his entire business. What 8-figure a year business, lost his business, lost his family, lost everything as a result of not being able to transmute his desires to positive places versus where we're just allowing it to be like weeds and just run amok. And so being able to harness that energy is powerful, extremely powerful in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's it really, I guess the whole chapter here just shows how this particular type of energy can be expressed in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
The 8-figure person, I'm not sure who it is, but every time I turn the TV on, I'm hearing about somebody else who, especially pundits on the news and people like that who end up losing their jobs and being sued, and you get governors and people that are getting impeached, and I think even Adam Levine is all over the news these days for doing something similar, which I'm kind of surprised at that one actually. But hey,
you said Adam Levine?
Yeah, Adam Levine's in a lot of trouble now.
Oh wow,
really? And he's married. So the interesting thing is a lot of this can be translated into like artistry. And you would think somebody like Adam Levine, who is, obviously a very successful musician, he's obviously got a lot of energy there that, or he's not been working or something like that. But, anyways, let me read what Napoleon Hill says. Actually, Karin, did you want to chime in on this? Because you did tell us you were an expert on this particular chapter.
So for me, it's this form of energy. How you said, Eric, if you can channel this energy in any form, you can build really big things. And this is the form of energy you feel in ecstasy when you come in a state of. That's a feeling what you get when you make a meditation, for example. If you can dive in so deep in a meditation that you can channel really this energy where you be no one, nobody, nowhere, and just feel the energy. That's the same like having sex, that you really feel this emotion. And if you are able to put all the positive things in this vibration, then you can create really, really big things.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums it up. So nice seeing everyone.
Have a good day. God bless. Good night.
I am fully aware now of the mystery of sex transmutation. Thank you, Karen, for your.
Well,
You are correct. You are the expert on this chapter. Anyhow,
but no, so I was reading a couple of books. One is
about sex transmutation. Wow.
no, not about that. No, indirect. No, it's
You need a therapist or something.
it's the who's the writer of The
Something to do
Secret?
with Ryan Reynolds. Is this something to do with
No,
Ryan?
nothing to do with Ryan Reynolds.
Rhonda
Burns. Yes, thank you,
Rhonda Burns, yeah.
So she has another series of books called The Power, or a book called The Power, and it just kind of elaborated more on the whole secret, and it just the power of love. Actually, very similar kind of topic, where the highest state you can be is love. And her take was to say, basically, just see love, not just we take love like person to person or something, right? You can actually see the love in anything that's around us, because anything that serves us, helps us. Just love the car for getting you to work, love your house for keeping you warm, love, we feel like we need to sort of limit that emotion to the people around us, but just loving life in all its capacities, human, non-human, like everything around you. In relation to that, I was watching the doc. If you guys haven't seen it, it's about infinity, right? I just started watching it, but an amazing calculation. It's not super mathematical or anything, but infinity is everything, right? And we used to have a play with kids, and you go, you're it, no, you're it, oh, you're it, infinity, and you go infinity plus one and all of that, right? Well, anything plus infinity is still infinity. It's a unique thing, right? It's everything that is in the universe. So if we look at it in the aspect of ourselves as sort of this energy form, or a bunch of atoms, a bunch of energy, compared to infinity, which is all of the energy of all the universe, it's infinite. So if we say, take an equation like me, Walter, plus infinity, if you take Walter plus all of the energy in the universe, infinity, equals, we'll say Eric and all of infinity, right? So those two equal. And that's true, because anything you add to infinity equals anything else you add to infinity. It's an infinite number, right? But now from a math equation, you subtract infinity from both sides. Okay, so you've got Walter plus infinity equals Eric plus infinity. It's a math equation. You take infinity from both sides. You now have Walter equals Eric, right? And you can actually, and they kind of explain how that doesn't make any sense, right? Because if you had infinity plus 7 equals infinity plus 1, you take infinity away, 7 equals 1, it doesn't make sense. But it actually does from theoretical perspective, and they go into it. But from our perspective, we are one. Like that equation basically, the way I saw it, is equates to we are one. We are one with everything, ourselves, right? Everything that from an energy perspective, you're part of the overall energy. I'm part of it. Eric's part of it. You take the infinity away, I'm just another version of Eric. We're like, all of us are part of the bigger.
So are you saying we should all be having sex or something?
No, but we should be. But
just wondering what's with the infinity. I understand what you're saying. I'm just
so what I'm getting at is, you can show love to everything, because it's not just Eric. You could say infinity, Walter plus infinity equals the computer plus infinity. You take infinity, I am the computer, I am Eric, I am Karen, right? So show love to everything, because it is an amazing, we never really think about it, but this universe is really amazing. It is something that we should love and cherish, every aspect of it. You know what I mean? That's what I kind of the epiphany moment for me watching that. But
Sounds like
yeah.
something worth watching. Why don't we see what Napoleon Hill has to say about sex transmutation? He starts out with the meaning of the word transmute is, in simple language, the changing or transferring one element or form into another. The emotion of sex brings into being a state of mind. I think what he's also pointing out here is that, you know, it shows our power that we can cause change. And, you know, I think somebody's already said, it might have been Carl. He is the expert. Anyways, we can, you know, cause things to change. So because of our ignorance of the subject, the state of mind is generally associated with the physical. And because of improper influence to which most people have been subjected in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physical have highly biased the mind. So one thing too that, you know, this always makes me think of too is, you know, we live on three planes of existence, and we're spiritual beings. We have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. So I think when you put all this together, you can start to see that, you know, you can take that physical side of things and you can use your intellect and move it into a more spiritual type of thing, causing the change. I think that you're, you know, that I guess what Napoleon Hill is trying to point out here. He goes on to say, the emotion of sex has been sorry, I can't really read this. There we go. Ah, look at that. I can read it now. The emotion of sex has back of it the possibility of three constructive potentialities, and they are the perpetuation of mankind. Did I say that right? I don't think so. Maintenance. I know I need hooked on phonics.
I didn't say it. I did think it. I did think it.
I'm still working on it. I haven't completed all the that word wasn't in there. Anyways, it was the maintenance of health as a therapeutic agent. It has no equal. That's probably true. Is, you know, it's kind of hard to be sick when you're, you know, focusing on this kind of stuff. The transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. Now, sex transmutation is simple and easily explained. It means the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. Now, makes it sound like it's easy, but not necessarily easy. It's probably a simple process, but not necessarily easy. It's like anything else. Now, sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, men or women develop a keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. So strong and impelling is the desire of sexual contact that men and women, I'm just going to keep adding the women, they certainly weren't politically correct back then, were they? Contact with men and women really run the risk of life and reputation to indulge in it. And we were just talking about that. There's people we see all the time, they're having problems on the news, and, you know, famous people. I think a lot of people have a problem with this, but we only hear about the famous ones. So. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attributes of keenness, of imagination, courage, etc., which may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or in any other profession or calling, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. And he goes on to say the transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower, to be sure, but the reward is worth the effort. The desire for sexual expression is inborn and natural. The desire cannot and should not be submerged or eliminated, but it should be given an outlet through forms of expression which enrich the body, mind, and spirit of man. If not given this form of outlet through transmutation, it will seek outlets through purely physical channels. So some of the things that you could look at here is, you know, from a spiritual side of things, you know, that we were talking about artistic abilities, and you know, somebody even mentioned this a while back, and I had to think about it for a minute, but, you know, they brought to the idea of Mother Teresa. Now, here's a woman that you would probably automatically think of pure and wouldn't even be thinking about sex. But she is a woman and has the exact same desires and things that we all have. But what she did was she transmuted that desire into other things like compassion and encouragement and enthusiasm. Like she went around the world and helped people. She expressed a tremendous amount of love. So that, it doesn't seem like it fits, but when you really think about it, it does fit. That's a good example of somebody who has done exactly what we're talking about here. So one of the things that, he goes on, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but he goes on to say the emotion of sex contains the secret of creative ability. And there's 10 things here. Does anybody want to comment on what I just said before I go on further here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, as
Right.
you were talking, it really made me think of like,
Glasses had to come off for this one.
yeah, it really made me think of like, like I had some buddies that were real hounds, like just had to have, if they saw somebody that they wanted, they had to go after them. And when you think about as I think about the depth of desire that they had to chase after that particular person, like no was just not an option. I mean, it just absolutely was not an option, right? So no matter how many times they were rejected, no matter how many obstacles came in their way, no matter what happened, they absolutely had to have this, they had to conquer this goal. And if you think about it, if you can transmute that energy into the life goals that we want, where there's absolutely there's absolutely no way that no is an option. Hell, I'll even use myself as an example. Like when I met Kia, my wife, I was like, oh man, she's cute. Like she don't know she's about to be my girlfriend. And she told me no quite a few times, right? She told her friends no, she told me no, she told everybody no, but I'm like, like you're gonna be my girlfriend, dude. You don't even know it. And here we are 26 years later, right? But no was not an option for me. It was just like, she's the one for me. That's it. So, when you really think about goal setting and life goals and purpose and passion, what if we all went after our passion and our purpose the way we go after people? And we pursue our passion, our purpose the same way. I mean, that's super powerful when you really look at it, especially from a sexual transmutation standpoint. So that's deep.
It is. It is, and I think I think that's the problem. First of all, it's subconscious, so it's just built into us, the whole procreation thing and all this. So your buddies, I mean, it's just your buddies not the only one that gets in trouble. Like you said, a lot of artists get into trouble, not just artists. I know a lot of people that get into trouble. If you just follow your instincts, it can lead you down, paths you probably don't want to go down. But you can consciously redirect that. And like I said, you don't necessarily have to put love towards a person. It can be towards an endeavor. It can be, like you said, Eric, towards your goals. And that was actually when I started after reading that book, I tried to do that when I do my goals and actually feel sort of love towards the outcomes of the goal, and also, be grateful for all my family and all that, of course, but putting love towards achieving the goals and what I can do when I achieve those goals and put that energy out there, it really does make a gigantic difference. I never even thought of doing that, right? We can record a memory. I mean, it's almost automatic when it's a negative memory or something. But we have the opportunity to, almost gather that moment and consciously, go back to it whenever we need to. We just kind of go through the motions normally, but we have the ability to kind of say, this is a special moment. I'm gonna definitely capture this, and then in the future go back to it so that you can use it towards your focus on your what you're trying to attain and all that, I think.
Yeah, I think we all had some experiences where we were in this energy when something or someone came along and there was fascination pure. And I think it's the secret to pick up the emotion that we felt at this moment, that we can create this feeling over and over again whenever we need it or whenever we want it. That you say, okay, I have this one situation or maybe more of them, and I can take it whenever I want it. That's the secret to really transmute this energy and really to focus on that particular part we want to manifest or create. And this is like if you have the big light in a stadium, in a football area, or you take just one laser point that you focus on, that you make it really on point, that you say, okay, all my attention is here, and here I put all the emotions in this project, goal, person, whatever. And I think that's good if we can do that.
Yeah.
Take the feeling to
harness it
from the past, take it now, and feel it again.
That's an awesome point. And then you brought up a good point. I was just going to bring up the same thing. Like when you go to, say, a concert or whatever, the funniest thing is back in when I was younger, I got into the Amway thing. Okay. And I'm, a lot of people, that's great, whatever. But the one thing that I took from it, I actually went down to, I forget where the head office is of Amway, in the South somewhere. I don't remember now. It was Georgia or something. Anyway, they have a gigantic stadium. And then it, once you achieve certain levels or whatever, everybody goes up on stage and everyone's cheering. You've got like 50,000 people all cheering, being positive and happy and all that. That was the first time I experienced anything like that. It has nothing to do with Amway, but everybody positively, and when you get up on stage, you feel that. It's like palpable. You could actually feel that energy, And same thing, like I said, in concerts, or if you're gonna, anything like that, where you're in a crowd of people and everyone's in a positive state, all emoting, similar sort of high energy emotions. Capturing that is really good. Like to what Karen was saying, if you can consciously, like, say, this is an amazing feeling right now, I'm gonna just consciously put that aside. Let me capture this so that I can go back to it later. I don't know, you guys, I think you know what I mean, when especially when there's multiple people all, that's why these sort of meetings and masterminds are so important too. Everyone kind of feels that energy. It's kind of like how I recharge my batteries, is talking with entrepreneurs and similar, everyone focused on positive things. It's a great point. Like anytime you catch yourself in that moment, don't let it go. Like really think
don't let it go. Exactly. And that's what we can do. We can train our bodies to feel this emotion we want to feel. And that's so interesting, because if we feel emotion we don't like, we don't want to feel right now in this moment, then the body is the master. But if we go in a meditation, in a visualization, we can train our bodies to feel what our subconscious mind says. Okay, we feel that now. Just exercise. That's training.
True. There's only two ways that a memory will be ingrained in the paradigm. It's through repetition, definitely, but also with high energy. Could be positive or negative. Anyone that's gotten into a car crash or something, I mean, from the opposite effect. I got rear-ended by a 18-wheeler, and I don't know, for the next month or two or three, I was ingrained. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, if any car was coming up a little too quick, I just freeze up. It was like involuntary, right? But we can, but that's just subconscious, right? That's just things happening and it gets locked in there subconsciously. But the beauty is, to Karen's point, when you're doing affirmations, focusing on your goals and visualizing what it's like to achieve, to have them with all of the same emotions, that now starts programming your subconscious, especially with high energy. When you kind of bring up that high energy, that loving sort of state, it just ingrains it in your subconscious that much quicker. Right?
Mr. Hill goes on here with the 10 mind stimuli. And before I do that, I was wondering if Eric is transmuting Chick-fil-A to everybody, or is it just for yourself?
Are we getting sponsors now?
Yeah. There we go.
He's going to get free dinner for the next year. Actually,
I wish.
they're in Canada now. So maybe I should go and say hi.
Yeah, they are.
Anyways, the 10 mind stimuli, according to Napoleon Hill, it says the human mind responds to stimuli through which it may be keyed up to high rates of vibration, known as enthusiasm, creative imagination, intense desire, etc. The stimuli to which the mind responds most freely are, and as we go to read them, this is really what Karin was actually talking about, the same idea, and Walter as well. So number 1 was the desire for sex expression. 2, love. 3, a burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, money. Number 4, music. Number 5, a friendship between either those of the same sex or those of the opposite sex. Number 6, the mastermind alliance is based upon the harmony of 2 or more people who ally themselves for spiritual and temporal advancement. And we're doing that with the roundtable on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Anybody wants to join us? Yeah, man, I always manage to throw a commercial in there. No, of course you do Chick-fil-A, so it's
Hey, man.
the roundtable. Number 7, mutual suffering, such as that experienced by people who are persecuted. Number 8, autosuggestion. 9 was fear. Number 10, narcotics and alcohol. And I see Karin's drinking her vodka. No, that's not vodka today. It's scotch, isn't it? Is that what you're drinking? A big glass?
Yeah, no, it's whiskey today.
Whiskey. Okay, yeah. All right.
The other days I have vodka. No.
With a lemon in it. Right? He goes on to say the desire for sex expression comes at the head of the list of stimuli, which most effectively step up the vibration of the mind and start the wheels of physical action. 8 of these stimuli are natural and constructive. 2 are destructive. The list is here presented for the purpose of enabling you to make a comparative study of the major sources of mind stimulation. From the study, it will be readily seen that the emotions of sex is, by great odds, the most intense and powerful of all mind stimuli. This comparison is necessary as a foundation for proof of the statement that transmutation of sex energy may lift one to the status of a genius. Wow, there is hope for me. Let us find out what constitutes a genius. And he goes on to that. Anybody want to comment on those before I talking about the genius that's developed through the sixth sense? No?
No, I want to hear this. I don't remember reading this.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm here, because I read it for you. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, I better put these back in. Okay, the genius is developed through the sixth sense. Now, the sixth sense, we often refer to that as your intuition. It's one of our higher faculties, and we've talked about that. In fact, actually, Karin and I did a whole thing on our higher faculties at one point. So the reality of a sixth sense has been fairly well established. The sixth sense is creative imagination. The faculty of creative imagination is one which the majority of people never use during an entire lifetime. And if used at all, it usually happens by mere accident. A relatively small number of people use the deliberation and purpose forethought, the faculty of creative imagination. Those who use the faculty voluntarily and with the understanding of its functions are genius. The faculty of creative imagination is a direct link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence, and so-called revelations referred to in the realm of religion, and all discoveries of basic or new principles in the field of invention take place through the faculty of creative imagination. When ideas or concepts flash into one's mind through what is popularly called a hunch, they come from one or more of the following sources. Okay, so number one is infinite intelligence. Walter was talking about infinity. Well, there's infinite intelligence. There is no end to the intelligence that's available to us, right? Through our intuition or sixth sense. One subconscious mind wherein is stored every sense, impression, and thought impulse, which ever reached the brain through any of the five senses. Number three, from the mind of some other person who has just released the thought or picture of the idea or concept through conscious thought, or, one second here. Anyways, number four is, I think there was supposed to be something there, it's not there. Number four is from the other person. Okay, that's the same. This is inspired ideas or hunches may be, okay, from the other person's subconscious storehouse. There are no other known sources from which inspired ideas or hunches may be received. The creative imagination functions best when the mind is vibrating due to some form of mind stimulation at an exceedingly high rate. That is when the mind is functioning at a rate of vibration higher than that of ordinary normal thought. So how many geniuses do we have on this call today? Karin's the expert on this.
We all are
She's
genius.
the genius here today.
Oh, we all are genius. I think that's exactly what I said at the beginning. If you go into a meditation, yeah, you use the higher faculties, and then you can step into this power. If you step into the quantum field, you can connect yourself to this high energy.
Yeah.
And that's the best place to create. When you get in the state of being no one, nowhere, if you don't feel your body and just connect to this energy, that's where you can really focus on your goal. That's if you imagine in this state of being, then you are one with the quantum field, and that's when you channel all this energy. That's massive.
Yeah, I mean, every one of us have written is when every one of us has written, some sort of self-help book, right? Or put our thoughts down on our beliefs and all of that. I don't know if you guys find, you must find the same thing. When you're writing and you're trying to sort of flesh out your ideas on paper, the ideas that I came up with, I'm like, I didn't come up with this. Like I connected the dots and I'm like, there's no way I could have come up with this on my own, just thinking through it or whatever. You get on this, you kind of plug in, especially once you're writing for me, it's maybe 20 minutes or whatever, when you're kind of almost like meditating on that whole topic or whatever, you're in the zone. Yeah, you just start getting these epiphanies out of nowhere. I don't even know where they come from. You know what I mean? You guys find the same thing when you're
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's almost like even during coaching sessions, like sometimes you'll say things to people that you absolutely have no clue what you said, where it came from. But what happens is it's just like it's really the combination of what both of you all are saying is, you're operating on this different level, like you become part of the river, the flow of life, if you will. And once you become the part of flow of life, you're merely a vessel that it's just flowing through you. And so once it flows through you, especially when you're operating, it's like it's like you become part of the veins of the body. You're just part of the flow, and it just flows straight through you. Even because it's flowing through you, you don't necessarily, it's not yours. You know what I mean? But it's a part of being connected to the higher being, and being a part of that flow of the entire universe. And so that it's just a flow. It's just a flow through. And I think that again, when you look at sexual transmutation, it's really about becoming a part of that flow of life, and just going with the flow versus trying to fight it. And I think a lot of times, whether it's limiting beliefs, whether it's our character, our moral, whatever it is, the people we hang around, whatever that may be, in trying to fight against the flow, or those are the things that cause us to try to fight against the flow, versus when we accept who we are, that we are a part of a bigger power. All of us are part of the human race, which operate on the three planes. Then when the closer we get to that, the more open we are, the freer the flow is. And so and it flows a whole lot quicker. being whatever it is you'd like, whatever your desires are. And that's a beautiful place to be. But it's hard to stay there. And I'm just being transparent. For me, it's very hard to stay there as a person, because we do have so many outside influences on us that that take us out of that realm. So that's the importance of coaching. That's the importance of being in masterminds. That's important of minding who you spend your time with, because again, the more time I spend with you cats, man, it's awesome. But then life starts happening, you know what I mean? And so it's like, oh.
Yeah, but the more you kind of learn about this stuff, it's kind of like we talk, or I did too. The subconscious is like this evil thing that it's out of control, and it's like you can't stand it. And then when we're in our conscious, that's a great thing. But I've kind of gotten to know there's a whole reason for us having that subconscious side, that connection, right? If everything is all flowers and roses, it doesn't have any real meaning, right?
Mhm.
That the flowers and roses feelings only have meaning because you can compare it, have something to relate it to. And so it's those negative emotions, those negative experiences that give meaning to the positive emotions. So when those positive emotions come, it's not something to dread. It's just something to learn from. How do we learn from this? Obviously, if it's a negative feeling, it's coming from your subconscious. It's
Mhm.
not your conscious, which is part of the consciousness, the global consciousness, right? It's something to learn there. It means that we something's in our paradigm that isn't jiving with us for whatever reason. So you can learn from it and whatever. And when we are in those higher states, I know what you mean. I mean, it's amazing when you reach that higher state, but it's also a little bit draining. Like you can't be there forever. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta just kind of get to neutral as well, right?
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah.
That's training. Yeah, exactly. We can train our body to feel it,
Mm-hmm.
just to feel it whenever we want, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing. We can train our body. Yeah, but I think our belief is still in the false self. Everyone has it. Yeah, it
Of
always
course.
comes up. We can never quit it forever. That's not
No.
possible.
Yeah.
I would love to do that, but it's always here again. And I said, oh, go away. I talk to you later. I'm too busy right now at the moment. But that's the training, to step into this energy. And I had an experience. It was just about 2 weeks ago when I had a coaching session with a client, and we talked about a topic. And I talked to her about alignment and about meditation, and to step into this higher power and the higher faculties. And I tell you, it was maybe 10 seconds. I was not here.
Mhm.
I was not here. I totally dived into. I thought it was another space. And I think that's what happens if you say, okay, I take everything. And that's what you said, Eric. I know this. Lee, you can do that too. Walter, I think you also, that we talk, and especially when we have clients and we have a coaching session, that we talk. Sometimes I also think, I don't know, hey, holy, what is this? Where's this
Yeah.
coming from?
Yeah.
This is not my words.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
speaking of which, when you're in that kind of higher energy, everybody feels it differently. Yes, it's an emotion, but do you guys feel like a physical? So for me, when you're telling ghost stories, you get the shivers down the back of your spine.
Yeah.
That's how I feel it. It's that shiver. So if I'm coaching someone, or and for whatever reason, like Karen said, you go down some path and you say something that it's kind of an epiphany to the person, I feel that little tingle as I'm speaking it. I feel that tingle, and it's almost like, oh, that hit a chord, or you're on the
Yeah.
right path, or, you know, it's an actual physical feeling that I feel. You guys feel the same way? I mean, I think
Mine is
everyone-
goosebumps.
Yeah.
I'll get goosebumps. Like it'll just,
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
just, I'll break out goosebumps all. I just get a
Yeah.
chill all over my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm not the only.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just you. It's just you, Walter. You're crazy.
Yeah, I'm just weird. Like,
But we have to feel it too because we are one.
Yeah, right.
I have to pay attention to my little tail.
no, a lot of people. I found people feel that in different ways, because yes, a lot of people do feel that kind of the shivers. Some people feel heat, or and some people actually physically start crying sometime. I find, or I've seen.
That's how Lee did when he was coaching me. He would just bust
Was
out
he?
into tears.
Cry my eyes out.
Blubbering.
Yeah.
Just blubbering.
I
Yeah.
have to send him a virtual hug.
That's it.
It's like, dear Lee.
Let's
man.
talk about personal magnetism.
Okay.
I'm thinking, who has personal magnetism? I think you all do. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who does?
Absolutely.
Anyways, he talks about here is the factor of personality known as personal magnetism is nothing more nor less than sex energy, right? Now, highly sexed people always have a plentiful supply of magnetism. Through cultivation and understanding, this vital force may be drawn upon and used to great advantage in the relationship between people. This energy may be communicated to others through the following media. Number one, a handshake. The touch of the hand indicates instantly the presence of magnetism or the lack of it. And you think about how many times you reach out the hand, shake somebody's hand, and it's like
Dead fish. Yeah.
Right.
I know what you mean.
Another one, number two is the tone of voice. Magnetism or sex energy is the factor with which the voice may be colored or made musical and charming. Right? So I guess, turn it into singing, right? So you find a lot of musicians, actors, people like that. Number three, posture and carriage of the body. Highly sexed people move briskly and with grace and ease. Number four, the vibration of thought. Highly sexed people mix the emotion of sex with their thoughts, or may do so at will, and in that way may influence those around them. You think about it, like you're really a great speaker. It's going to move people, right? You see, even I guess now that I'm thinking about it, like I always think about Bob Proctor because I most experienced with Bob. But I think like somebody I've seen Tony Robbins live.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy that's on fire, like it's like unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, nothing like Tony Robbins personality wise, but he would move you from the things he's saying. Right? And it's Tony Robbins too, but Tony Robbins had a lot of energy to go with what he was saying. Right?
Yeah.
Still does actually. Number five is body adornment. People who are highly sexed are usually very careful about their personal appearance. They usually select clothing of a style becoming of their personality, physique, complexion, etc. So those are interesting things to think about as well. And then on the bottom of this page, it says, transmutation of sex energy calls for more willpower than the average person cares to use for this purpose. Those who find it difficult to summon willpower sufficient for transmutation may gradually acquire this ability. Though this requires willpower, the reward for the practice is more than worth the effort. So I guess there is some stuff in here I like, but obviously,
Been a while since you read it. Right?
I'm reading it. Yeah, so, what else have we got here? Let's go ahead. You can talk.
Just to that point, it's actually a great point when you're speaking to somebody who's down sort of the lower vibrational emotions. It's palpable. You can almost see it in their skin, in their posture. This exact same thing, and even in their breathing. They talk low, they talk down, they look down, and you can even see it in their skin and in their face. After you talk for a time and they kind of feel more positive, you can see it in their face. It's like they're glowing almost. It's really a physical change. their voice goes up. It's just like Lee was saying, the posture gets better. They're looking in your eyes. They're emoting. It's almost like when you're negative, it's almost like you're cowering. It's almost like you're bringing everything in. And then when you're in a more loving state, you're kind of it's an outpouring or something, and you can see it. You can definitely see it in people and feel it, I think, right?
So I'm taking a look at the things that got highlighted in here, and let's see what this part says. Glasses. I keep putting them down, thinking, well, what am I putting them down for? I can't read it without. Anyways, there should be no disappointment over love, and there would be none if people understood the difference between the emotion of love and sex. The major difference is that love is spiritual, while sex is biological. No experience which touches a human heart with a spiritual force can possibly be harmful except through ignorance or jealousy. Now that goes back to, I talked about it already about, we're spiritual beings, we have an intellect and live in a physical body. That's that spirituality side of it. But, what he's talking about here is, if you nothing harm can come except through ignorance and jealousy. And that's where, this can all be used for destructive reasons too. You can transmute this information for harm if you really want it to. And I think people do. So he goes on to say, love is, without question, life's greatest experience. It brings one into common with infinite intelligence. When mixed with the emotions of romance and sex, it may lead one far up the ladder of creative effort. The emotions of love, sex, and romance are sides of the eternal triangle of achievement building genius. Nature creates genius through no other force. Again, that's that spiritual side of us. We're spiritual beings. We have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. It's, thoughts along those lines? I know we're getting close to the end of this particular chapter, so feel free to talk.
It is true that the sexual, it's funny because you said sexual transmutation. The sexual is the physical feeling of it, but it's separate from the emotion of love. Yeah. Which is true, right? I thought I just kind of linked the two together, I suppose, but they don't. They're the
physical side of sex, and then the emotional side.
The emotional side, right? But when you join the two together, then that's sort of the ultimate combination, I suppose, right? But it can lead you down pretty bad paths when you get the love component out of it, for sure. It's all animalistic. Can definitely. It's all about me and you getting, let's say your rocks off, and that's all you think about. It can really lead you down the wrong path. I had friends like Eric growing up, right?
I know a guy like that right now. I mean, it's crazy because
you want to get your rocks off? Is that what you said?
No, not me. I didn't say I wanted to get my rocks
off. Your wife nearby.
But I mean, the gentleman I know are like right now. It's all about the physical piece for him, and has a potentially extremely thriving business, but it's not anywhere near where it could be, simply because it's all about the physical for him, which makes it, when you look at it from that side of things, it does make it very selfish. It's self-serving. It's very self-serving, and people see that. People can see right through that, and it's, again, it does more harm than good.
Yeah, I mean, when we're kids, it is very much like a game. It's all about how do I get, for us, the girl, right?
Yep.
And it's just a series. It's almost like a bunch of formulas. If you say this about that, and then you get them to do this, and then you touch their shoulder, and then it's all just mechanical.
Richard, this sounds like Richard. Doggone it. Walter, it sounds like you have some experience in this. I mean,
no,
something you need to tell us, buddy.
No, my friend.
Want to hear a little bit more about your competition?
Yeah. I'm about to start taking
Tell
notes.
us more.
No, it is very much when I was.
Stop the live streaming. We have to talk to Walter.
We might need to start a what's the thing called? Walter might need to start an OnlyFans.
No, it was literally like that. I used to hate going out because I'm introverted by nature. So being in crowds and a bunch of small talk just drives me, still to this day, drives me nuts, right? I'll do it because I've trained myself to do it, not because I enjoy it, you know, when you just talk about the weather constantly and all that. Where you're talking as a means to an end, not because you're actually listening, you know what I mean? So I would go out with these guys because I'm a kid and I was a young teenager, whatever. Sure, you'd like to go to bars and whatnot, but they had this as a science. They would literally say, if you do this and talk to that, and when she says this, you do that. And it was literally a game. And I couldn't stand it, really. But I'm telling you, it did work. And it followed this and do that and whatever. They don't have any lasting relationships. I mean, it's great, you know, for a week. And then you have to be yourself at some point, right? But yeah, it used to drive me nuts. I hated that. I hated that whole bar scene thing for sure.
Hey, somebody else keep talking. I don't like this chat.
You
Yeah,
like
I
reading it
think
on
it's
your own there. See, you thought you hated it, Lee, and you're getting all these nuggets out of the thing.
Well, I'm doing what I need to be doing for one of these calls. I could have, you know, we had to skip this last week, and I would have been fine with not doing it this week. But again, like there's a lot of great stuff in here. I don't want to get people.
There is.
There's a lot of great stuff in here. But
yeah, I think it's the best from this chapter if you take every single part of it. If you take the physical component and the intelligence, the higher faculties, and the meditations, and your goals. And I think if you find a basic where you can use it all together, for me, it's this is the perfect alignment. And alignment is what we need for creation. This is alignment. If we are in this state of high vibration, positive, high vibes, that's where everything is possible.
Yep.
We should take it all, physical, intellectual,
I'm Eric.
energetical.
Said you lost Eric.
Eric fell, yeah, his internet cut out or something.
But there is a part in here I didn't read, which I wasn't sure we were going to have time, so I thought it. But anyways, he talks about why men, and I'm assuming women, seldom succeed before 40. And that's kind of true. And when I first read that, I'm thinking that's kind of true. Like most people have their most of their success when they get to the age of 40.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe I'd read this a little bit. It says here, I discovered from the analysis of over 25,000 people that men who succeed, in an outstanding way, seldom do so before the age of 40. And more often, they do not strike their real pace until they are well beyond the age of 50. This fact was so astounding that it prompted me to go into the study of its cause most carefully, carrying the investigation over a period of more than 12 years. The study disclosed the fact that the major reason why the majority of men and women who succeed do not begin to do so before the age of 40 to 50 is their tendency to dissipate their energy through overindulgent in the physical expression of emotion of sex. I just keep looking to see if Eric's back. The majority of men never learn that the urge of sex has other possibilities which far transcend it in importance than a mere physical expression. The majority of those who make this discovery do so after having wasted many years at a period when the sex energy is at its height. Prior to the age of 45 to 50, this usually is followed by noteworthy achievement. The lives of many men, women, up to and sometimes well past the age of 40 reflect a continued dissipation of energies, which could be have been more profitable turned into better channels. Their finer and more powerful emotions are sown wildly to the four winds. Out of this habit of the male grew the term sowing his wild oats. There's Eric's back. Hang on a second. I'll get back.
His internet dropped. He sent us a message.
He's back. Sometime
There he is.
talking about sowing his wild oats, and that's what he was doing right now when he disappeared. He was out sowing his wild oats. He was
trying to
talking
get my rocks off.
your blood. I guess
My
guess
internet went out, man. I don't know what
he
happened.
showed
I'm
up.
just hopped on my phone.
Yeah, your internet went out. He was checking out that OnlyFans page.
Right. Seeing what it took to get one started up.
Okay, so the very last part I was going to read here just says the desire of sexual expression by far the strongest and most impelling of all human emotions. And for this very reason, this desire, when harnessed and transmuted into action, other than that of physical expression, may raise one to the status of genius. So, like I said before, there's some good stuff in here. And I do highly recommend people reading it. If you're going to study thinking over it, you need to study this chapter. But I've read it many times, and it's just one that I can kind of gloss over personally. Is once you get the idea of what he's talking about, it's like, okay, you're gonna have to work at it. You got to be able to transmute that energy into the things you want to accomplish. Some people don't want to. Some people don't realize they can. Some people don't want to live an abundant life. They just want to keep living the way they're living. So I would imagine, if you happen to be somebody who goes to a job every day that is just for the purpose of paying bills or things like that, then you're probably not going to do this. You're not going to even think about it because you don't need to be that creative. Sometimes we've talked about it, like living near Toronto, like Walter and I have. You have to get creative, with the traffic. That's about it, right? That's all you're going to be focusing on. So, anyways, we're getting close to the end here. Any final thoughts on this? This wonderful chapter that Karen is the expert on. She's definitely demonstrated that she knows more about this than all of us combined. She's kind of surprised. Thinking, wow, you really studied this one, Karen. Oh, geez.
I did. Yeah. And I recommend it highly to everyone study this chapter.
I think the biggest takeaway is to not let those moments sort of go to waste almost, be conscious in those moments and really, cherish them and store them away, like consciously say, this is important. It feels incredible. I'm going to store that away so that I can go back to it and help me move forward with my goals and my affirmations and everything. That's the biggest takeaway I got from it anyway.
Amen.
Anybody else? There's something you want to add to that there, Mr. Keys?
I think that they've summed it up pretty well. Again, just making sure that we stay in the flow. Really capturing those moments, and so that we can relive them and revisit them in the times when we're down and out and feel like we're in a rut and in the mud, that we can pick ourselves up just by revisiting moments and rekindling the flame, if you will. And transmute ourselves back into those moments. So powerful stuff, very powerful stuff. It truly can, it can change your world if you figure out how to harness that energy.
Yeah. So expert, do you have any final thoughts?
Yes, of course. So I think for me, it's the golden nugget from this session today. That everybody should find his own way to find this high emotion, to find this high state of feeling love. Mm-hmm. However it looks like, and however you find it, that everyone should find his own way. Either you have some music or you remember some situations where you felt this love, or meditation, visualization, whatever. But it's really, really, great stuff here. And it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So I guess that's kind of bringing us to an end here. We're at their 4 o'clock hour, or 10 o'clock in Austria for Karen. Before we go, I just want to mention to Eric that that hurricane looks like it's heading towards you. So
well, I actually went and grabbed my daughter Monday because she was down in Florida.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so she's here. Okay. She's here. We're everybody's safe. This actually the weather is gorgeous here right now. It's 77 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful breeze blowing. There's a high pressure sitting on us, so it's kind of pushing it out towards the Carolinas, and so we may. I think they're projecting us to get some rain tomorrow, some winds, a few little wind gusts, but I think we're going to be good. Just it's just kind of run of the mill for us. I mean, it's when you live down this way, it's
part of the
this
change
is the
season, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
this is the season. Up through November, we just know it's hurricane season. And where I am, I'm so far inland that typically what we get is just rain and wind. That's about it. We may have a few power outages every now and again, but that's about it.
Good.
But thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate the thoughts.
I just
Thoughts
saw
and
earlier that
Yeah.
it's coming out
Stay
to warmer
safe.
water, and the warmer water usually gets it going crazy again, right? So,
Yeah. They're projecting it to go back out into the Atlantic, and then they're saying it's going to come back in the Carolinas and maybe the other side of Georgia, but that's about 5 hours from me. So now that's where I can't remember her name right now. It escapes me. She's in the Savannah area. Round Table.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Libya, wasn't it? Libya, right?
Yeah. So
Kind of more
she's probably going to feel it a little bit more than we are here in Atlanta. So
I'm just kind of curious, being 6'9", do you have to worry about flooding?
no, I'm not. Listen, I had a guy tell me one time. He says, "You're the first to know when it rains." I said, "Yeah, but I'm the last to die when it floods."
That's it. Okay, well, we should wrap this up. Next week we'll be back Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern again. With next week is the subconscious mind. There's a chapter I can get behind.
Yes.
I completely understand this one.
Yep.
So this
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts before we say goodbye? I'm going to say goodbye right now. Goodbye, and
Bye.
Good session.
feel free
Take
to
care.
reach out. If you want to learn more about sex transmutation, you know that Karin is the expert, and the rest of us could help you with it as well. So feel free to reach out. We'll see you again. Take care, everyone.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Have a great week.
Bye.